before we start down the Jon Gruden lawsuit against the NFL path, we need to establish that he got fired because he sent some highly inappropriate emails.
Yeah. Crappy
to
language.
Bruce Allen,
right?
The former executive and ultimately president of the Washington football team, now the Washington Commanders. 2011, Gruden was working at ESPN, not working for any team, but he sent these emails, hateful, nasty, over the top, just vile stuff. Offensive language in every direction. And for the substance of the statements that he articulated, he deserves a lot, right?
That's right. No doubt.
And he's gotten it. He's endured it.
He has.
He's gotten what he deserved.
Maybe and maybe more.
The other side of the coin, and this is where his lawsuit comes from, and this is where you have to always respect the rights of someone, no matter how unpopular they may be, or no matter how ugly the conduct they engaged in, because people still have rights.
Right.
And it's more important to respect their rights when it's very tempting to say, screw them.
Yeah, screw you.
They got what they
no
deserve.
Rights. You're
screw
a jerk.
your rights.
Right. Yeah.
Screw
right.
your rights. Yeah.
That ain't fair.
So Jon Gruden still has rights.
Right.
And his lawsuit against the NFL and Roger Goodell, filed in Nevada, argues that the league office, the NFL, interfered with his business relationship with the Raiders by leaking emails that forced him out. That once those emails came out, once they were handed to the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal, and again, this isn't a case of high-level sleuthing by the Times or the Wall Street Journal. Nobody's digging around in dumpsters, piecing together shredded documents. This is, and there are some in the business who get mad when I say that because they like to maintain this allure that there's some great mystery to what we do. Bullshit. We're handed things all the time. 98% of the news that is broken in the NFL world is something that someone handed to a reporter, affirmatively, without the reporter even asking it. It's something that someone wants to get out.
Yep.
Either to curry favor with the reporter so the reporter doesn't exercise his or her discretion to criticize at some point, and that's part of the price you pay when you're in this quid pro quo trade so you can get the release 5 minutes before it gets sent out by the team. Or just, hey, I want to screw this guy. Screw Jon Gruden. I want to get this out there. How do I do it? I'll give it to the media. Who do I give it to? Well, let me give it to some newspapers that really have some heft, that have gravitas. The Wall Street Journal and the New York Times. Let's give it to them. And then as soon as those emails are out there, and it started with a few, right? And I think what they were doing, if I think back to that time in October, and it's all happening during football season, Chris, but what they were doing is, it's like the old, I'm showing you my sword a little bit. They're pulling the sword out of the sheath. Hey, look what we got here, Jon Gruden. You better walk away while you can. Hey, Mark Davis, you better get rid of this guy while you can. Oh, you're not going to? Well, here's more of the sword. And now you got to walk away. I feel like that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Somebody was leaking these
it's just
in
why?
degrees, in levels, until there was no choice.
Right.
See, Mark, and look, whether you agree or disagree with what happened to Jon Gruden, Mark Davis should have been able to make that decision without those emails becoming public, because these were documents from this 650,000 email trove that they refused to release to the public. So all that stuff's going to be secret. The stuff about Gruden should have been secret too, and Mark Davis should have been able to make his decision about Jon Gruden without being pushed to do it by having everyone see these emails, and it's like, well, we got no choice. He's got to go. Can't stay. Once these are out, there's no way you can stay. I can't even make a decision now. I can't say, well, it was 2011. You weren't even working for me. It's not relevant to me, right? I can't do that. You're out. You're gone. You got to go. You can't stay. And that's the argument. Gruden believes the NFL forced Mark Davis's hand, forced Gruden out by leaking these emails. So bottom line.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think that the emails were known any time before this a little bit, that they were there, like you're saying? And the fact that maybe Mark Davis didn't react the way they felt like they had to release maybe more of them? You know, it's something I never really thought about, but I was sitting there listening to you as you go. Maybe they realized Mark Davis wasn't going to make the right decision. Again, I'm just throwing this out there for conversation, for thought. I don't know that, but it's just something that has crossed my brain, and it did there when you were talking about this.
I was told at the time that the league knew about them in June. Now, I don't know why it wasn't brought to a head in June. And the week that this was all happening, the NFL was in the process of putting together a packet of information that was sent to Mark Davis based upon what was found in these emails from Jon Gruden. You could argue the mere act of carving off the emails from one company's server that are being regarded as private by the NFL as the conduit from one independent company to another independent company and sharing that information, right? That in and of itself, you could argue, is tortious interference with Jon Gruden's business relationship with his current employer.
Yeah.
I mean, let's try to think of a different context here, and I'm doing this on the fly, so bear with me.
Yeah, cool.
Let's say that Jon Gruden was an executive at Coca-Cola.
Right.
Okay. No, not even that. It's not even that extreme. My God, it's worse than that from the standpoint of interference by the league. Let's say Jon Gruden wasn't working for anybody, and he sent some emails to a buddy at Coca-Cola.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Some inappropriate emails to a buddy at Coca-Cola. And then a decade later, he's working for Pepsi. And there's a trade association out there, the American Soft Drink Manufacturers Association, and they catch wind of the emails that were sent by Jon Gruden to Coca-Cola, and they decide they're going to send him to Pepsi to get the guy in trouble. I mean, just on the surface, there's something about it that stinks.
Yeah, no doubt.
Again, not defending Jon Gruden.
No, right.
But the NFL just serving as the conduit to Mark Davis in the first place stinks. But then when Mark Davis doesn't do what you want him to do, leaking these things to reporters, if this is true, if the allegations are true, leaking these things to reporters to get him fired, that's despicable. It's heinous. It's every bit as bad as the content of the emails that Jon Gruden sent. It's weaponizing these documents that are supposedly secret with the end in mind of getting Jon Gruden out of his job. And look, I got a problem with what Jon Gruden did, but I got a problem with what was done to him.
Yeah, you can have both. I think it's fair to have both feelings there. To go, yeah, that ain't cool, Jon Gruden, Coach Gruden, that ain't cool. That language, no doubt. I mean, that's wrong, not cool. But you can also go, damn, that's really screwed up by the NFL too. There's no doubt about it. And both things can be true, as Pete's saying in my ear. And, again, where I don't want it to be misconstrued here either, but man, I was so happy to see this news yesterday, and I know it's not final yet, but oh my gosh, I mean, if Gruden can win this is going to be great. It's going to be something you've talked about all the time. We're going to be out of the kangaroo court. We're going to get to hear some of their dirty details of the NFL. Some of their dirty laundry is going to be made public, and you don't see that happen with the NFL very much, but this one might be the one that does it.
And that's what happened yesterday. The same day that Colin Kaepernick got his workout with the Raiders, Jon Gruden went to court. They had a hearing on two motions made by the NFL. Motion to dismiss his lawsuit entirely for failure to state a claim. Basically, hey, if everything in there is true, he still can't get relief in this court system. That motion was denied by the judge from the bench during the hearing, and also the motion to compel arbitration, the motion to send the case to Roger Goodell's secret rigged kangaroo court. I'm going to keep calling it that, folks. I don't care if you don't like it. It's what it is, NFL, secret rigged kangaroo court. That's where they wanted it to be, to keep it all quiet, to keep it all hidden, and to get the outcome they want. The judge denied that too from the bench. Chris,
explain that, because judges
rarely bang the gavel and issue a ruling from the bench. Even Wapner took 5 minutes to go back to his room and come back and give you a decision. Rarely does a judge. I mean, that is spiking the football in the face of the losing party when you issue the ruling from the bench. They typically, And I'd be
act
lying
like they're
if I
thinking
said
about it.
I'd be lying. I'd be lying if I said it hasn't happened to me on both sides, frankly, at one time or another during the 19 years I practiced law. But usually they take the case under advisement. We'll take it under advisement, and then I'll get back to you with my decision, and then a week or two later you get the decision. No, this is the judge did her homework. She knew where the wind was blowing.
Right.
She knew where this outcome needed to go. She went to the hearing, and she heard absolutely nothing from the NFL's lawyers to change her mind. Boom. Knock on wood if you're with me. Boom.
Yeah.
Bang the gavel, and she's with Jon Gruden. And now, the NFL's already said they're going to appeal.
Of course.
And Chris, the St. Louis relocation lawsuit against the NFL and the Rams was tied up in court for 5 years on the question of whether or not St. Louis would have to arbitrate. They went all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court on that issue. They will push and push and push as far as they can because they don't want the light of day to be exposed to these facts. They don't want this stuff coming out. They don't want us to know who ordered the code red. They want it all to go into their secret rigged kangaroo process. So they will fight and fight and fight and fight and take it to the highest court in the land to try to keep from having to fight Jon Gruden in open court. I guarantee you that. They did it with St. Louis. They'll do it with Gruden.
Right? I mean, this is to me where the NFL starts to show their real power. And really the oligarchs start to show, oh, wait, yeah, I got this judge and this lawyer and the president and everybody here right on speed dial. We need to call some people now and really go full through. Like that's where I think the NFL goes to another level here.
This is when they act a lot like a certain failed former politician who can't admit that he was wrong.
Well, they're going to pull all the strings.
sue and go to every court possible and lose in all but one of them. And that's what the NFL will do. They will not acknowledge they were wrong.
Right.
They will not acknowledge that the case should play out in court. They will fight and they will fight and they will fight because they don't want to fight Jon Gruden in court. They don't want this stuff coming out. And we want it to.
Yeah.
We want it to for a couple of reasons. One, we want to know what happened. We want the truth, and we know we're not going to get the truth if it plays out in the secret rigged kangaroo court of Roger Goodell. And number two, sometimes it's nice to see Big Shield get its comeuppance when somebody did something they shouldn't have done. And the bottom line is, whoever it was, whether it was the NFL, whether it was Roger Goodell, whether it was Daniel Snyder, whoever ordered the code red deserves to be exposed and held accountable for it.
It wasn't well thought out.
It's far more likely to happen in court than in the secret rigged kangaroo court.
Yeah, no, I hope we can get there. I mean, I'm hopeful, but I don't know if I really believe that we will. I don't. I mean, again, like you've discussed and like we've said, this is where the NFL seems to pull all the right strings and has, incredible power.
Not against St. Louis.
I know.
Not against St. Louis.
So that's where I was going to say, like, though, to that, like, I mean, the magnitude, the fact that it's Gruden. I mean, everybody knows Jon Gruden. That, and then that this is also connected to the Washington thing here. I don't know. Do you think because of the public nature of all this and some of the names and how long the story is going to be going here, do you think that this is one that the NFL might have a harder time kind of swiping under the rug compared to other ones in other years?
I look, they've already lost at the district court level, at the lowest court level. We'll see what the appeals courts do in Nevada. I didn't think their argument was very strong in the first place. They're trying to bootstrap together this notion that Jon Gruden is bound by the NFL's constitution and bylaws to pursue the claim through arbitration there. It was a weak argument in the first place. But again, they're going to throw everything they have at this because the mandate's going to be keep this thing out of court. Whatever we do, spend whatever it takes. We can't allow this thing to be in court. So it's one thing to have a coaching contract that has clear language in it requiring you to pursue your claims in arbitration. That's a little bit harder to wiggle out from under. The argument the NFL was trying to make against Gruden, to me, was a lot more difficult for the league. So I'm holding out hope. Even if it takes 5 years, at the end of the day, we're going to get access to things. We're going to find out about things. And then it's going to be like St. Louis, where, for example, the St. Louis Post-Dispatch gets documents showing that when Stan Kroenke bought the land at Hollywood Park, that he knew damn well he wanted to build a stadium and move the Rams there. And the Rams and the league got together and said, how do we keep this secret? And, well, we just can't say anything about it. And Roger Goodell goes to a press conference and acts like he doesn't know anything about it, even though he does. That's what the documents show. And then 5 years later, Roger Goodell at a press conference, confronted with that, basically pulls the shaggy Eddie Murphy line and says, it wasn't me. Didn't do it. And they move on to the next question. We may be there 5 years from now where some stuff comes out that forces Roger Goodell, if he's still the commissioner then, to act like he didn't say what he said, when the documents will show that it was said, that it was done. We only get access to that if Jon Gruden ultimately prevails. So, Team Gruden, sorry, we both got our black on today.
We are. I guess we're Raiders
Team
fans. First we're Raiders fans. We're wearing black because of the Raiders. That's why.
On this point of exposing what happened, what the NFL did, it's not Team Gruden on the standpoint of what he did, but both things can be true. He did something wrong. They did something wrong. Today is about them doing something wrong and having it exposed. So from that perspective, Team Gruden.
Yeah.
And only from that perspective.
Yep.
And Team Raiders. Go Raiders.
The Raiders.
And Gruden said yesterday, coming out of court, we're going to let the process take care of itself. Good luck to the Raiders. Go Raiders.
I love it.
I don't have anything else to comment on. The process will take care of itself. It's good to be back in Vegas. I'm going to go see friends tonight. Hey, last night was a cause for celebration. Again, what he did was wrong, but what was done to him, the way it was done, was wrong. And it's not the first time something like that's happened. And hopefully this time, someone's hand was caught in the cookie jar, just like Gruden's was, and he got his. Somebody else did something they shouldn't have done, and maybe they're going to get there.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.